Hello everyone, welcome back to RAF, the Battle of Britain 1940, where I am continuing my playthrough and we're currently on the first day, just finished the first raid and about to start the second possible raid. It's 1000, is that what they call it? 1000 hours. On the morning of August the 11th, 1940, Sunday. And the Germans have already had a crack at bombing Hornchurch airfield, and they did 1 damage, I believe, and that was it, but didn't really do anything else. All the planes were up in the air, so they didn't really do any serious damage, thankfully. But we did get a little bit shot up. We've got quite a few planes in the rearming stage here out of action. We've got another raid coming in from east, and we know that the one after that is coming from the Flotte Dry. So that's over here, which is previously untapped. So we'll see what happens there. We're still on the first day, so the weather is unchanged. We've got patchy clouds over the Luftflotte 3 area, and we've got broken clouds over the Luftflotte 2 area. So that's going to stay there unless there's something else in the cards perhaps that changes that. Before we get going, I just point out I have added a few little things here, so I've shifted things around a bit, slightly changed the lighting, though I don't think it's that noticeable. It's just a little bit less kind of intense. But I've added the combat results and the combat damage charts and the bombing table to the table here. In the previous video I added them as a little kind of overlay to the video in editing, just to make it a little bit easier to follow, but I figured it was hard to kind of explain what was going on without actually showing you what these tables were, so I might as well put them in. So we'll be referring to them when we need them. Otherwise everything else is basically as we left it. So let's get raid number 2, or the possibility of raid number 2, underway and see how bad things get. The first thing we do is reveal what the card is, and it's Rochester. Where's Rochester? It's right next to Hornchurch, right. Okay, and it's an industrial zone. Interesting. So like this sector was the one that got hit last time, so it's already somewhat depleted, and of course these guys aren't in the air because I thought, hey, it's coming from the east, so I forgot that this one was bordering 611 and therefore could have been useful, but it depends on how much warning we get and everything. But yeah, that's not great because we're not going to be able to get many squadrons up in the air in this one. Okay, well, we'll see how this goes. So we have the possibility of major or minor raid, or possibly no raid. It's strategic value 2. If we look here, oh, actually, there may be a no raid. Cities and industry are low priority, and we look at column 2 here. We're only going to get a raid of any kind if we roll a 6, and if we do get one, it's going to be a minor raid. So we roll and we get a 3. There is no raid. Interesting. What happens then? With no raid results, draw another target card until a minor or major raid results. Which is interesting because then the time doesn't go forward or anything. We don't go through the steps or anything like that. It's just that there has to be a raid in that time period. Yep, that's what it's like. So we don't go to Rochester after all. We keep pulling Weymouth. And that's actually even more concerning now, because now we're not prepared at all. Huh. Well, that's pretty terrible, because like this is Luftwaffe 3. We haven't got anyone up for Luftwaffe 3 here. Oh boy. Okay. Well, Weymouth then. Weymouth is there. Yoink. We're over there. It's another strategic value too, but it's a port. So we're going to get a raid. And we are going to roll. And it's a 6. And that means it's a major raid. So we thought they were going to come in from this side, but they jinked or something and decided to come in from the south. So we've got Weymouth as a target. Our radar nets are 1 and 2. West Prawl and Worth, but that's our target, and we have nobody in the air in anywhere here. So this is going to be a mad scramble, and we've got a major raid coming in. So yeah, this is terrible. Right, now we've got to see if what our detection levels are. So we're going to roll another d6. And it's a 4, so we're going to change that to a 4. I'm going to try and go through this a little bit more quickly, having gone through it in more detail in the first raid. So we do have a major raid at +3. Now we're coming in through Patchy Cloud, which is 2 is the modifier for that. That's the second number on this. And we have another 2 radars here, so we got 4. So we have 13, I think. 4 + 4 + 5, yeah, 8 + 5 is 13. We're a little bit better than before. We've got early warning. Oh, we've got poor intelligence. That's not so great. That's not so great. We can bring in more squadrons at least, but we have no idea what we're going to be up against, basically. Squadrons patrolling and in sectors en route and patrolling in range. Well, there's nobody patrolling in range. Yeah. Well, we can only bring them from 410 itself, and 410 fortunately does have 3 planes in it, so we can get all of these up in the air at least, but nobody else, because nobody around there is patrolling. And in range here would be 310 and 110, and that is 310 here, and is that 110 and 110 here, and like nobody's patrolling here, unfortunately. So it's gonna be just the lads from Middle Wallop, which is another example of these amazing village names that England has, because presumably there's an upper Wallop and a lower Wallop somewhere as well nearby. So we've got poor intelligence, so now we've got to get them up in the air now before we know anything about the raid, how big it is or what. So as it is, they're the only ones able to get there anyhow, so we may as well just throw them all up and see what happens. So they are committed now. Then we find out what's going on with the raid. So it's a major raid, we know that. It's a 10 plane major raid. Wowzers. Okay. Now we find out what 10 planes we have. Oh, it's a fighter heavy one, eh? It's, so we had a 10 raid last time, a 10 plane raid, or 10, I keep saying plane, 10 squadron raid. And we have 2 Junker 88s, which we'll just take A and B. out there. We got 5 ME-109s. So again, these are all coming from the Luftflotte 3. So we had 5, I think we said. And yeah, just this time around we'll just go A, B, C, A, B. Don't need to roll randomly for it really. So they're in here. And we have 3 ME-110s. That's like all 3 of them basically. Now there is something about getting some elite ones out, but I think that's only from the Flotter 2. Yeah, that's only from the Flotter 2. We've already had them out, so we got 3 close escorts, 2 bombers, and 5 in the hunting box ME-109s there. Great. Well, you know, 1 Spitfire's worth 10 of them, so it's, you know, we outnumber them technically, possibly. Oh, that's the spirit anyway. So, again, are we going to fend and evade? Because we can. It did let us get someone in the bomber box, which is good. As it is, we're just trying to figure out who's going where. We do have 1 pair of Spitfires here, so we can fend and evade with 1 pair of them. If we did leave everyone here, we'd have a combat value of 12. But there's 5 Gruppen here, so that would be a C. Every plane we take out basically is going to put it back a column, isn't it? And we were rolling on A before, so yeah, this is what the table looks like. So you basically find out what your combat value is by looking in the cells of the table compared to how many Gruppen are in the combat. So if there's 5 Gruppen, you look down this column until you get to your combat value, which is the sum of your combat numbers on the planes. So that's 12 plus 0, because these are all zeros. And that would put us here on row C. And then in the actual combat you roll a d6 and you look at this table, and this is what I was talking about in the previous video. I was saying that things were DGA, LL dash or whatever. This basically tells you what happens to each of those squadrons that are labelled as A, B or C on the German and British sides. And then you look on this table to see what the effect of those are. So it's D is disrupt, A is abort, L is light loss, H is heavy loss, and blank is nothing. So at the moment we would, if we left everyone there, then it would be a C at most, which, unless there's an event that improves things for us, like we get height advantage, it's going to be probably worse for us than it is for them. And this is also what I meant last time when I was saying that the higher rows, A, B, C kind of rows, you can see that the British get more heavy losses and light losses and disrupts and aborts than the Germans here, who get lots of blanks and just aborts and disrupts mostly. And as you go down the table towards H and I, so i.e. your combat value gets higher, that swings over towards the Germans. So the Germans end up getting all the heavies and the light losses, and the Brits end up getting the dashes and the aborts and things. So getting a letter of the alphabet closer to A is not good for the Brits. And at the moment we're just hovering around this end. So that is not as good. And we really should try and stop the bombers somehow at least. Otherwise they're going to get some serious bonuses to their bombing attempts. So I think we should do a fend and evade. And again, probably we're going to have to send one of the bombers, or one of the full Spitfire in, to try and do a bit of damage if he can, because now we've got more close escorts than bombers, so we might have to engage everybody, which may not be a great idea. Okay, we'll send in, we'll flip A over and send him in, so I don't know who's fending and who's evading, but I guess he's fending and he's evading because he's getting through to the bomber formation, but we'll do it like that. So similar sort of thing to last time. So now we have our raid approach event. So let's see if there's anything interesting here. So we take this card and look at the top. Luftwaffe 3 area weather changes. Clear becomes patchy, patchy becomes broken, or broken becomes clear. Patchy just became broken in Luftwaffe 3, which is our area. Shame that happened after the detection. Well, actually, is that a good thing? It's not going to make the bombing any worse, at least, so that's okay. So now we do actually have, as well, we do have both areas as broken clouds, which you can't get on the weather table at the start of the day. So it's lousy weather everywhere. I guess they wouldn't fly if it was completely overcast or something. I mean, it's funny that it only goes up to broken cloud and not fully, you know, low ceiling kind of thing, which Britain mostly has anyway. I suppose it's August, it's probably not that bad. That was the approach event. And now we do the attack. So, as I said, we add up the combat values, which are 2 and 4 here, so that's 6, and add a whole bunch of zeros from the ME109s, and we get a total of 6. And we have 5 group N. So like I said, we look at the 5 column and we look at 6 value, which is B, which is terrible for us, and we roll a d6 and we see what we get. And we get a 1, and that is a, what are we, B. Terrible for us, yeah. Everything that is A and C on the German side is a blank. So A and C, these guys are full grouper, they're in the hunt box, they go to close escort. So that makes that even better. So they are both blank, they both go to close escort. The B aborts, there's 2 of them, they abort. They actually go to in-flight reduced, so that's not too horrible. Because we look at the abort column, the full grouper to in-flight reduced. So that's them, but HLD we have, so that is H, L for B and D for C. So A is heavy loss, he's reduced already, so that's a reduced squadron to heavy loss. Here's another heavy loss. Actually this guy should be full as well. So we lose another 2 victory points, so we're doing fantastically so far. And L was B, we don't have a B. C was D, so C is disrupt. He's a full squadron. To bomb box reduced or in-flight full. Ooh, I can choose. Is that worth it? We'll get up to a 6 in the bomber box if he's reduced. Well, it might help. I'd put him into the bomber box reduced, I think. Let's get some more people in there. So he will go to the bomber box in the reduced state. So I'll add a 2 combat value to that. So that's that combat. And a couple of them fly off slightly shot up, but most of them went into close escort box, and lost one Spitfire squadron there, which is not good. Now the target event. Lion, undetected escort. If the intelligence rating is poor or limited. What is undetected escort? Okay, move one fighter grouping from its airbase to the close escort box, in addition to those already assigned to it. Select an ME-109 before selecting an ME-110, unless the raid target is beyond the range of ME-109s, in which case only an ME-110 may be selected. This event does not occur if there are no grouping in the bomber box, or if there are no fighter grouping at the air bases for this raid's Luftflotte. Furthermore, the event may indicate that it only occurs if the British intelligence rating for the raid is poor or limited. Well, it was definitely poor, so we've got another ME-109 in the close escort box. So we've got an A, a C. We might as well get a B in there, I guess. So let's have him show up as well. Awesome. How much better can this get? Also, these are very well protected Junker 88s here. They got, what, 7 squadrons of fighters around them? So, who is intercepted? We have an equal number of squadrons in the bomber box, which means all grouping in BB and CC are intercepted, so everybody in here is intercepted. I'm beginning to wonder if it was better to just leave one squadron in here. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Does the chart even go up to 9? Like, it's over here, yeah. So, what's our combat value? A whole bunch of zeros here, at least, but we've got 10, another 6, that's 16, and another 6 is 22, which puts us on C. So everybody essentially is in the bomber box right now. So let's see what happens. We got a 3. So we got ADD, HDD. Oh, so something's happening to everybody here. So, okay, let's get all the A's together. Like that. And leave these over here. So I mean, this is all basically one big fight at the moment. The close escort moved into the BB box, and we're all having a big mosh. So we roll the 3. So ADD. All of this lot are A's. Everybody here is in the close escort box, and everybody here is in the bomber box. I'll just do it like that. Yeah, let's make that a bit more clear. So these are all in the close escort box, because there's a different table for that. So the A grouper, they're full. They go to in-flight reduced. And the D's also go to in-flight reduced, actually. So that's abort and disrupt. So everyone basically goes to flip over. They go to in-flight reduced, no matter what. Like whether they aborted or disrupted, that's the state they're in. Then the bombers in the bomber box, now they're both intact, full grouper. We've got an A and a B bomber there, so that's an A and an abort and a disrupt. So abort goes to in-flight reduced. Whoops. Abort goes to in-flight reduced, so he's out of the picture there. And disrupt stays in the bomb box reduced. So somehow we've actually managed to limit their bombing power there, so that was not too bad. Because now they're at bombing value of 3 rather than 5. So that's okay. And then, like I said, we've got no heavy loss here, but these are both disrupted, right? HDD. So these guys, our squadron, we got full squadron disrupted in the bomber box. Goes to in-flight reduced. That's not bad. But the reduced squadron in the bomber box with a disrupt is also in-flight reduced. Okay, good. So we haven't actually lost any victory points there beyond the first squadron that got shot to bits. But at the end of that, there is still a bomber left in the bomber box. So there's going to be some bombing going on, but it's going to be more reduced. I mean, all things considered, against 10 squadrons, or 9 squadrons, 7 of which were close escort fighters, ME-109s and 110s, that's a pretty good showing, really. You know, we've only got some slightly, you know, we lost one whole squadron and broke 2 of our other ones, but they're still, those 2 are still intact. So that's quite good. I thought we'd lose all of them. So yay for the defending and evading there, I think. So the bomber now gets to try to attack its target. Total the bombing strength of all bombers in the group. Well, that's 3. When we look at the bombing table, column 3. Now we have definitely had squadrons in the bomber box. So this is why we want to get squadrons in there, because if we don't, they're going to get shifted 2 columns to the right, which means they can do more damage. But we've got broken clouds here now, so that shifts us 2 to the left, which is column number 1. That makes it a lot less likely that he's going to be able to hit anything useful. So we just roll the die, and we roll the 2, and the 2 is a blank on column 1, so he does not do any damage with his bombing. Excellent. That's surprisingly good. Then he will head out into the in-flight box, I guess. So bombing completed, he joins his other squadron in the going home box. And that is the end of that raid, which again we survived surprisingly well. So now, German recovery. Bombergruppen go back to their air bases on their reduced side. Here were the Ju-88s, so they go back up there. I just put them on the back, and they're not going to be coming out for the rest of the day. And the fighters, if they're full, they go to the clock space 3 spaces ahead of the current time, but none of them are actually full because they all got reduced, didn't they? So all of these are reduced. They're going back to their full side, but they're 4 spaces ahead, so yikes. Where's 4 spaces? 1, 2, 3, 4. So they're going to come back at 1800 hours. So the evening is possibly going to be highly unpleasant. And these are all the Flotter 3. So that's from 2 and this lot are from 3. But 3's depleted a bit in the meantime, so you know, that might be interesting if they have another raid coming. Do they have another raid coming? They do have another raid coming, so not an awful lot of fighters going on in there. So the German recovery is done, and the clock update. We look at the last event, which was this one. says time advance 1, so the clock does advance 1 step, which means we go into the airfield operations stage. So we now are at lunchtime, 12 o'clock. So now we're doing this bit. So the fighter turnaround. Nobody is in that time space on the clock, so none of these fighters come back yet. But squadrons all get moved around. So each squadron in the rearm box goes back to its sector on the map. So that's good. These guys all come back. So now we've got to figure out where all the sectors are. 411 is you. 511 is you. 611 is here. 112. It's 112. 112 is here. And 212. Okay. They are back. Each squadron in a landing box moves up to the rearm box, so he's coming back slowly. Then each patrolling squadron goes back to its sector's rearm box. So who we got patrolling? We have this guy in 411. So he's in rearm. He's in rearm. He's actually 711 because he flew into the neighbouring sector there to patrol. So he goes back to Biggin Hill because he's from here. And nobody else is up in the air at the moment. Then each full squadron, we don't have a full squadron, so each reduced squadron in the in-flight box goes to its sector's landing box, flipped to its full side. So these guys come back, they're both 410, but they both end up in the landing box for their sector. And that's it for that part, the squadron turnaround. And then this goes away, these go away, and we're done with these. And now we get advance warning, so we can put that one next to that. So we know that the next 2 raids are from the Flotter 3, so that's going to make things very interesting. And now we get to assign our patrols. So we got Hurricanes. We got a Hurricane there. And I don't want to get everybody up because we have got another raid coming here afterwards from 3. So I think I want to let's get a spit up here. And we'll move a spit over here as well. And I think we'll leave it at that. Not got much in reserve, but we'll see what happens. Maybe we'll get a minor raid, who knows. We'll get them out of the way there. So Weymouth survived that run. Now the 12 o'clock raid happens. So that's like a full raid done. And now we go back and find what the next raid is. Raid number 3. Southampton, which is here. Oh, it was a 111. Interesting. Alright, well, you see, that's a darn thing here, isn't it? I gotta remember to get people up patrolling in the other sectors around here as well, because if these are neighbouring this sector, so obviously we just got a raid in this sector, so we could, if I had people patrolling in this one, we could have brought them in if we get sufficient warning. But anyway, Southampton is industry. It's Luftflotte 3, which we know. Its strategic value of 3 though. Industry is a low priority target here. So if we roll low, we won't get a raid on this one, but that's not necessarily a good thing. And we got a 6, which is of course what is that, 3, it's a major raid. So we got another major raid, but at least we know it's coming here, where we're vaguely prepared for it. In the detection part, now we rolled a 3, so that's not quite as great. So that's a 3 for our detection. It is a major raid. Now everyone's got broken clouds, and the modifier for that is a 2 still, so that's not changed. And we've got radar net 2 and 3, so we've got 3 and 2, and target is Southampton. So same modifier there. So what we got, 6 plus 6 is 12. So we got sufficient unlimited again. Interesting. That gives us the option of delayed response, but again I'm not sure if that's actually going to help us. So squadrons patrolling and in sectors en route is the sufficient one, and en route is 111, so it's basically just this. Whereas if we go early, if we go delayed response, we can get ones that are in range as well, which is 410. Where's 410? Which is this one. So we could bring 1 squadron in. We would be able to defend and evade. There'll be a pair of Spitfire squadrons. But I was holding these ones back for the next raid. So now if we do a delayed response, that means that they are going to basically be able to bomb Southampton as much as they want. And this being a major raid, we don't know how many planes there are quite yet. I think we'll still try and stop them just with what we've got, so we won't do a delayed response. We'll just do the 1. Send the 1 squadron up, I think. So we have limited, so we are gonna know what know the size of the raid basically. So we know it's a major raid. It's a 9 plane raid. So now because we're limited, we put our lone squadron up. Godspeed, sirs. And I guess the thing we're doing this is that we are definitely not going to be able to do anything with the bomber, are we? Because we can't fend and evade. So the bomber's gonna get through. Yeah, well, it's too late now, I guess. I guess that would be the advantage of the delayed response then, wouldn't it? So we've got our squadron deployed, and now we need to know how many or what the planes are that are in the raid. So we got 9, and we have a whole mix of stuff. Alright, let's do the bombs. We've got a Junker 88 and 2 Heinkel 11s. So a Junker 88 and 2 Heinkel 11s. So let's just call you. We'll just take an A, B, and a C of you. Okay. And then we've got some weird stuff. Let's see, the E on the card here means that this ME109 is a close escort, and the CP means channel patrol. So we've got one ME-109 that is actually an escort, which isn't where it usually goes. They usually go in the hunt box, but usually the 110s are the escorts. But we still have that problem of not an awful lot of planes to allocate. So if not enough of the fighters specified are available, select any fighter. If no grouping of a similar type are available, do not select any of that type. Don't substitute bombers for fighters. You just don't select any grouping for entries further down the list. And I guess we go from top of the list down. So yeah, we should go down the list. So we got ME-109, which is this. We've got a Junker 88, which is this. We got another 109. We got a Heinkel. We got a channel patrol 109. And then we're out. Like, we've got no escort 109. So it says, in this case, do not select any grouper for that entry on the force card, and do not select any grouping for entries further down the list. So if you can't fulfill a specific entry, you stop selecting for the raid altogether. The size of the raid is decreased. So we got up to the channel patrol one, and that's it. So we actually don't put one of the Heinkel 11s out. We are done here. We've just stopped at the last one we can put out, which is the channel patrol 109. Well, this suddenly got a lot more interesting. So, or at least, survivable interesting anyway. So our raid has shrunk. So it's not 9, it's actually a 5 plane raid, and one of them's on channel patrol. So that's pretty good. Intriguing. So we didn't get the E1 either, so we haven't got a close escort either. Oh, aha. That means the next raid's going to be really interesting because there's no fighters. Yeah, it's a false raid in that case. So we have deployed the raid, we've got our planes up in the air. Do the hunter interception part now. We have more grouping than squadrons, all stay in HB. We can't do fend and evading now because we haven't got a pair of Spitfires here, so they're going to have to just stay in here, and we'll see what happens. And then the approach event happens. So now we see what happens in our approach event, which is a rendezvous failure. If raid has 7 or more grouping, all C grouping in the bomber and that close escort box leave raid. Well, it doesn't have 7 or more grouping anymore because it's limited to 5, but that would have been an interesting one. Then we do the hunter attack. So now we actually resolve the attack here, and what we have is combat value of 4 plus 0. So we look, and we have 2 grouping here, so we look on the 2, we got a 4. That's a row C, which is not great, but not absolutely awful. So let's see what we can do with these guys. If by some miracle we survive, then we may be able to get into the bomber box after all. We are rolling D6 on row C. And we rolled 2, and that is a busy one. DDA, DAH, A and C. So DDA, so D, disrupt, disrupt, abort. So hunt box, full grouper, disrupt goes to in-flight. Abort goes to in-flight reduced, but our British squadron is a B, and we rolled a 2, and that is an abort. So abort in the hunt box for a full squadron. Nuts. If it was a disrupt, we could have stayed in the bomb box. Damn it. But as it is, we have to go off to the reduced box here, so that is unfortunate. That means that the bombers get a clear run. Unless there's a target event hit, so we're going to have a look at the target event. And target event. Lion. Patrollers vectored away. Move all full B patrolling squadrons to the in-flight box. Squadrons responding to the current raid are not affected. So it's actually talking about all the ones that are on the map. Yeah. So all the B patrolling squadrons. Are there any B patrolling squadrons? You're a C, you're a C, you're an A. Did anyone else go up? Oh, no, okay, so they don't actually go off. So if anyone of these had been a B, they would have moved off into the in-flight box and then they'd have to be delayed coming back. So that's okay then. And now we got squadron interception, but there isn't any. Nothing happens here. These guys are still out on patrol in the channel. No squadron shows up in the bomber box, so we're going to get a 2-column shift to the right when bombing. So this is not going to be good for the bomb damage, which is going to be next. So our squadrons got fended off, and now these guys are coming in to carpet bomb Southampton. So we end up with bombing strength of 10, 5 plus 5. It is broken clouds, so we shift 2 to the left. So we got 10, shift 2 to the left, because we're broken clouds now in the Flotter 3. But we didn't have any squadrons in the bomber box at any point during the raid, so we shift it back 2 to the right. So we're still on 10 to 11 here. And that's it. So we roll and we see what happens to Southampton. And hopefully roll low, and we did. We rolled a 2, and that is just 1 damage. So 1 damage is -1 VP. I lost another VP there. And Southampton is a port, and ports, I believe, do not have any further effect when it comes to bomb damage. So they're just victory points basically. So that's okay. Damage a few warehouses, but nothing too bad, thankfully. And then off they go into the in-flight box again, having resolved their bombs. Yeah, the CP guys go into the in-flight box as well, and then we go and sort out the German recovery. So the bomber grouping moved back to their airbase, but they are reduced. So we actually got it. We got a Ju-88 and a Heinkel 111. Okay, and then you're there. Right, and then the fighters go 3 spaces ahead unless they're reduced, in which case they go 4 spaces ahead. So 3 spaces ahead is 1, 2, 3, so there's another pile of stuff here. And 4 spaces ahead go over to, technically would be the end of the day, so they don't actually go anywhere. They go back to their airbase, but they are reduced, which means they can't actually come out at all during the rest of the day. So they're essentially not there. because there's going to be a big pile up at the end of the day. Suddenly Luftwaffe 3 is going to get very recharged there. That is the end of the German recovery. Now the clock update. Now the interesting thing here is that when we look at the raid target event, we had a time advance of 0, which means the clock marker does not advance and we get another raid right away. It's not a follow-up raid, that's a different thing. We get a new raid from the next card. We also skip the airfield operations phase, so we're going from here back to the start of the raid phase. So we haven't had a chance to get anybody up in the air. That's not ideal. And we don't have the advance warning either. And we basically start another raid straight away. So we do that. Oh blimey, it's Southampton again. Oh cripes. But this time it's Southampton port. So now it's a port which is a high priority, which is a strategic level of 2. So it's likely to be a major raid. But not because there's no fighters essentially in this Luftwaffe. So once again we don't have to actually change that. But what's going to happen now? We roll another die for the detection, which is a low number, which sucks. Not high numbers for that. But now this is a minor raid, so this actually goes away. We don't get the +3. We still got the broken cloud, which is still a 2. And we still have 2 undamaged radar nets. So now we've got 8. Oh boy. We are late and limited. Huh. So yeah, we're not adding a 3 anymore because we don't have these modifiers on this table. And it's not a follow-up raid. Even though it is on the same city, or essentially the same vicinity anyway, but it's not a follow-up raid because it's not attacking the same thing again. That's interesting. So late and limited. So we've got only the squadrons patrolling en route, which is just the 111s, which is nobody. But if we have sufficient warning, we can get the squadrons in the sectors, which is these 2. Which brings us back to our delayed response thing. But that's going to mean we're going to let them bomb. But they have no fighters. So I think it's going to be a false raid. So, what are we? Limited. Well, we can get the size determination at least. Which is, and this was a minor raid anyway, wasn't it? What's our thing? Limited. 2. We have a 2 squadron raid. If it's got a bomber at the top, like this, then we could get something. If it's got a fighter at the top, then we won't get anything because there's no fighters, and if there's no fighters, you stop kind of drawing squadrons for the raid. It's a risk, because if we send anybody up and it is a reduced, or it is a false raid, i.e. we can't select any grouping because there's none to put out there, squadrons go to the in-flight box, but the raid wouldn't happen, and instead you advance the clock marker 2 spaces and then carry on from that. If we choose not to send anybody up, we may lose VP if they include a bomber grouping. So we're going to take the risk, because if there's a bomber, then we're going to lose a VP. If there's no bomber, we won't. So we'll take the risk. We'll keep everyone on the ground. We're second guessing the radar and the observers here. So we need to see what the size is, and this will determine whether we lose a victory point or not. We have, it is 2. We do not have any ME-109s left, because remember this guy is reduced, he's staying at home. Which means we stop drawing, we don't get the second bomber out there, the second plane, or second squadron, which are all of these Stukas that are just sitting here. They don't come out. It is a false raid. We therefore do not lose any victory points for not committing. And we skip all the way ahead to step 16, which is the clock update. Nothing else happens. That's it, basically. Now, I'm kind of curious as to what happened here then, because we still had this guy left over from before, but we didn't get down into the turnaround stage. So is he still in flight? I guess he was still in flight because that raid happened kind of instantly, isn't it? So now we would get to do that. So we were advancing the clock 2 steps. Nothing happened after that first raid. We were expecting another raid, this time on Southampton's port, but it never showed up. So we stood down, moved the clock ahead to 4 o'clock PM 1600. Now all of these planes come back out. So it's the German fighter turnaround. They come back out, they are full side up back to their airbase. So they are all 2s, aren't they? They are ready to fly out in subsequent raids. Then our squadrons come back. So this guy can finally come back, but he's actually going to come back last now. We've got 2 time steps, which means that anyone currently in landing or rearming goes back to their sector on the map. So these guys actually come back to 410. Where was 410? There. So that's good. And these guys come back to 4, 5, 6, and 7. 11. Alright, well that's pretty good. And then these guys come back finally. They are not a full squadron, they're a reduced squadron. But in 2 spaces they go from the in-flight box to their rearm box, flip to their full side. So you come back to 111 on the rearm, you said? Yeah, so good, alright, that's replenished us a bit. I mean, that's replenished them a fair bit as well, but 3 is still screwed. Like, everyone's just, you know, I'm hoping we're not going to get a raid from the Flotta 3 at 6 o'clock, because if we do, we're going to just get every fighter coming back on that one. But for now, we are okay. So that's 2 time steps ahead. Done the squadron turnaround. Advance warning. So let's reset all this. We just put that on here and we have our advance warning. And then we can patrol, we can put people on patrol now. So that was a difference, because when it was the time advance 0, we had to flip this over straight away without putting any squadrons out. Whereas now we know where it's coming from, we can put the squadrons out and then we can have a reaction to it. So we've got 2 coming from the south. That's going to be any of these ones, basically. Could probably afford to put at least 1 up in all of them. Oh, we forgot, hang on. Sorry, the ones that were patrolling should have gone into the rearm box. So 310 should have gone down here. Sorry, this was in the squadron phase. This guy actually is 111. Oh, he came over from there, right? So he's over here as well, and who 110 sent eval is going into there, right? But I think these guys are going to be okay. We don't have to worry about them or Southampton being hit again. So we just got to worry about the South getting a double whammy. And they're not going to run out of planes anytime soon unless they have Junker 88s. I think I will put one of each up here. I want to put Spitfires up whenever I can because they're better than the Hurricanes. Probably want to put somebody up here just in case we get an attack again on this sector. So again, that's just A and C. I guess the Flotta 3 is going for these ones and the Flotta 2 is going for these ones, but we could get a Tangmere or a Weybridge or Farnborough hit here, so that might be worth it just in case we can bring in a neighbour. I'll stick him up as well, why not? We'll get 311. Get everyone on full alert here now that we've had a little bit of a break. And we've still got enough stuff on the ground to get another one in next time. I'm just gonna have to really hope that we have a time advance of 2 at the end of this, because if we do, then we can just skip all this monstrous recovery here and just go straight to the end of the day. But if we get a time advance of 1, then we're gonna be screwed. Actually, no, we're not, because it's from the Flotta 2 south, unless we get no raids or whatever. We have to keep drawing cards and things, which may be a problem. But let's worry about that when that actually becomes a thing. We have allocated our patrols. We go back to another raid. So we see what this is.